Welcome to India Inside, the GCC Advantage. We are your guide to understanding how India is, well, rapidly becoming the world's go-to hub for global capability centers.
And how that's fundamentally driving global business transformation.
Exactly. This show from the CoreBridge GCC Desk is really for global and Indian leaders who are navigating this very complex and exciting ecosystem.
We want to provide that thought leadership.
Before we get started today, a quick request. Please follow this show. It really helps us out.
It really does.
Today, we're talking about India's ESG and DEI edge. For so long, the conversation around GCCs was, all about efficiency.
Cost arbitrage, process optimization, that was the whole game.
Right. But that mandate has fundamentally shifted. We're now seeing GCCs in India transform. They're becoming these primary execution engines for global ESG, that's environmental, social, and governance.
And DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion commitments.
It's fascinating. They're essentially building a global blueprint for how to run a sustainable, responsible enterprise.
That shift is huge. It's tectonic, not just some small incremental change. For many CXOs, ESG and DEI have gone from being, optional boxes to tick.
Or a CSR initiative.
Exactly, a corporate social responsibility thing. Now they are core operational imperatives. I mean, if you look at the corporate landscape since 2020, this integration of values into operations, it's just not avoidable anymore.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. What's the real force driving this? I mean, we know companies care about their brand, but what's the hard financial trigger here?
It all comes down to capital, plain and simple. The pressure is for the largest pools of money on earth. We found that global investors who represent, and this is an astounding number, over $120 trillion in assets under management.
Wow.
They are now actively integrating detailed ESG metrics into their investment decisions. When capital markets move, companies have no choice but to follow.
So if your operations, including your GCCs, don't meet those measurable standards, you're immediately seen as a higher financial risk.
You're flagged instantly. And it's not just about saying you're sustainable. You have to deliver measurable, auditable outcomes, often across multiple continents.
And the same accountability is there for DEI, I assume.
Precisely. Right now, something like 75% of Fortune 500 companies publish these detailed impact reports. The focus has moved way beyond just meeting quotas. It's about building leadership capability.
So developing diverse talent pipelines that drive real innovation.
That's right, for global resilience.
So these huge strategic commitments land on the CEO's desk, and the first question has to be, who's going to execute this at scale?
And this is where India's GCC ecosystem comes right into the picture. They are becoming those essential execution engines.
Because they have that blend of scale, tech capacity, and importantly, policy sensitivity.
India offers this unique convergence. It's the ideal environment. And it really has to start with government support. We're seeing huge national policy momentum around sustainability.
That top-down push is so critical. It creates a predictable operating environment. You look at India's commitments, like net zero by 2070.
And that huge renewable energy target, 500 gigawatts by 2030.
It sets a very clear tone for the entire ecosystem.
But the real insight for a CXO isn't just that national target. It's what's happening at the state level. The states are actively embedding ESG incentives into their specific GCC policies.
Making it a competitive advantage to operate responsibly.
Absolutely.
Okay, so give us a concrete example of that. How are states differentiating?
Well, take Gujarat. Their new GCC policy, which runs from 2025 to 2030, offers very specific financial incentives for adopting green building standards.
Yeah.
They're actively promoting eco-friendly IT infrastructure, especially in places like Gifty City.
So it actually becomes cheaper to build sustainably.
It does, and Madhya Pradesh is right there with them.
Creating a similar advantage.
Yes. Their 2024 GCC policy encourages eco-certified campuses and renewable energy use through what they call infrastructure-linked CapEx reimbursements.
So for the global investor, that means if you spend capital on solar panels for your campus, the state will literally give you a portion of that money back.
Exactly. It directly links your investment to responsible operations.
That linkage is a real differentiator. But policy is only one part of it. What about the S&D and ESG and DEI, the people part?
That's the crucial synergy. The talent ecosystem is responding incredibly well. States are incentivizing inclusive hiring for women, for the LGBTQ+ community, and for differently abled individuals.
I saw that Gujarat's policy specifically encourages women-centric employment.
It does, because they recognize it's not just a social good, it's an economic multiplier.
And this all feeds into the strategic value of decentralization, of moving into Tier 2 cities. Our own CoreBridge GCC Desk's Tier 2 Inclusion Index pointed this out.
That's right.
Cities like Indore, Vadodara, Coimbatore, they aren't just about lower costs anymore. They're driving economic decentralization and, maybe more importantly, social inclusion at scale.
It lets global firms tap into talent pools they would completely miss if they only focused on, say, Bangalore or Mumbai.
So let's pivot back to that ESG advantage. How does this all translate into actual commercial competitiveness? It has to start with the physical buildings, and the numbers here are pretty striking.
They really are. We're seeing 60% of all new GCC campuses built in India after 2020 are now green certified buildings. That adoption rate is faster than in many mature markets.
And the financial benefit is immediate. Those CapEx reimbursements we mentioned, they can range from 15 to 25%. That's a direct state-backed reduction in your total cost of ownership.
A huge reduction.
Which brings up an important question for you, the CXO listening in. What is the real ROI of setting up, say, a digital twin center in India versus Eastern Europe? When you factor in these incentives and the lower emissions footprint, how does that TCO equation actually change?
We've modeled this. And if you conservatively estimate the value of just avoided carbon taxes plus those CapEx subsidies, the long-term TCO can shift by 8 to 10% in India's favor.
Just on sustainability metrics alone.
Just on those metrics. It's an immediate cost advantage that's packaged as a sustainability initiative.
That's a sharp insight. And the story goes beyond the building itself, right, into the supply chain.
Exactly. GCCs are adopting sustainable procurement. They're partnering with local MSMEs, micro, small, and medium enterprises that meet certain environmental and social standards. This just amplifies the economic impact.
And digitally, things like 5G and cloud are enabling paperless operations, which reduces the carbon footprint even further.
And we see that policy link again. Madhya Pradesh's framework, for example, encourages collaborative skilling programs for local youth, funded by the GCCs. It ties social inclusion directly to future jobs.
Now let's talk about DEI in action. This is where India's cultural fluency really comes to the forefront. Let's start with gender diversity.
A great place to start. The proportion of women in India's tech and GCC workforce has risen to 36%. That's up from just 25% a decade ago.
And that trend is accelerating.
It is, and it's heavily supported by state policies. GCCs in Gujarat and MP benefit directly from state funding for things like subsidized childcare facilities.
And women's leadership programs, transport assistance.
All practical things that reduce barriers and help with retention.
It's also fascinating how global firms are using this environment.
It's the leadership lab concept.
Right.
India's GCCs are serving as these crucial testing grounds. Companies develop inclusive management practices here, like flexible team structures or cross-cultural training, and then they scale them globally.
So when a global company needs to figure out how to manage a hybrid team across 4 continents, they look at the practices perfected in their Indian GCC.
Absolutely. And the cultural mosaic of India itself is a core asset. A multilingual, multicultural workforce gives you an inherent advantage in managing complex global operations from one single hub.
To bring this all to life, let's look at a real-world example. Amazon's GCC model seems to illustrate this perfectly.
It really does. They're in Hyderabad, Chennai, and Indore. And their strategy is this perfect integration of ESG and DEI.
So what are the ESG outcomes?
They're exemplary. Amazon India's offices are committed to running on 100% renewable energy, and their operations actively engage with local MSMEs for sustainable procurement of everything.
And on the DEI side?
The metrics are outstanding. Over 40% of the workforce in certain GCC functions are women. They have the Amaze Women in Tech program specifically for mentoring women technologists.
And you can see the policy link clearly. Their indoor GCC actively recruits from underrepresented local backgrounds, taking direct advantage of the incentives in MP's framework.
It's proof that state policy can really enable corporate execution.
And what's the global ripple effect of this?
India's Amazon GCC is now cited as a global reference for ESG-compliant operations, and it's coupled with really high employee retention scores. It just underscores India's ability to integrate purpose and performance.
This integration seems to be a key theme.
It's a core conclusion from our CoreBridge GCC Desk's 2024 Sustainability Report. We identified 3 major investment catalysts here.
What were those key findings?
First, ESG-led site selection is now the norm. A striking 75% of new GCC investors are factoring sustainability credentials into their decision before they even finalize a location.
So states like Gujarat and MP have a real competitive edge.
They absolutely do. Second, the incentives are aligning cost and diversity. Payroll subsidies for hiring women are improving cost structures and diversity ratios at the same time. It's a powerful dual win.
For finance and for HR.
And third, the reporting infrastructure is mature. India's regulatory frameworks, like SEBI's BRSR, support transparent sustainability disclosures. This gives global investors the confidence they need.
Okay, but as with any ambitious vision, there must be challenges. What are the immediate hurdles the industry needs to clear?
There are 3 main ones. The first is data measurement. We still need standardized ESG metrics specifically for GCCs so you can make apples-to-apples comparisons.
Right. The second.
Cultural change. DEI needs to be embedded across all functions, not just siloed in HR.
And the third, which we see a lot, is that Tier 2 transition challenge. As you expand into emerging cities, you have to ensure you can maintain those high sustainability standards.
It's a real test of policy execution. But the vision driving all this is incredibly ambitious. By 2030, India is aiming to be the world's largest ESG-compliant GCC destination.
And what does that 2030 goal actually look like?
It means over 2,000 green-certified GCC campuses. It means aiming for 50% female participation in leadership roles. State policy innovation is absolutely pivotal to getting there.
So for the decision maker listening, the core takeaway is that India's ESG and DEI advantage is truly strategic. It's not just about compliance, it's about commercial competitiveness.
It's the future operating model. And here's a final thought for you to consider. The future of global capability leadership won't be defined just by who has the best AI. It will be defined by how well organizations integrate measurable social and environmental impact into their core technology roadmaps.
That integration is the ultimate competitive advantage.
And India is leading the way.
If you are a CXO navigating this landscape, connect with the CoreBridge GCC Desk. We can help with deeper policy navigation and sustainable site selection.
And you can find our curated resources, including the full GCC Sustainability Report, linked in the description below.
And please follow this show. It really helps.
Next time on India Inside, we'll be looking at the new geopolitical reality, how India's GCCs are becoming crucial risk mitigation hubs for multinationals facing global uncertainty.
Join us as we continue to shape the next decade of global capability leadership right here from India.
Disclaimer and credits.